Je m'appelle Josias Semujanga. Je suis professeur de littérature africaine à l'Université de Montréal. Je m'intéresse donc à l'histoire de l'Afrique et je suis intéressé par le fait que vous commencez par dire le génocide commis par la colonisation, mais aussi par l'esclavage. Ma première question, quelle est la place qu'accorde le droit pénal international et la Cour pénale internationale sur ces crimes-là, qui sont en fait, le problème dedans, dans les crimes actuels, dont les Africains ont la responsabilité. Ma deuxième question est, quelle est la place ou quel apport le droit pénal international peut-il apporter à des juridictions alternatives, par exemple, Commission de vérité en Afrique du Sud, puisque si on condamnait des acteurs de l'apartheid, l'Afrique du Sud multicolore ne serait pas. La même chose, quelle que soit votre position sur le Rwanda, et comme juriste, vous savez qu'il n'existe pas de loi idéale. C'est une approche pour résoudre un problème, pour que la communauté puisse exister. La même chose pour le Gacaca, dont on peut critiquer les agissements, mais la philosophie politique derrière, puisque j'ai assisté aussi à beaucoup de procès, et quelle est la place? Comment le droit pénal international peut-il contribuer aussi à ces juridictions alternatives? Parce qu'après tout, j'imagine, je ne suis pas juriste, que tout procès participe à la philosophie de la vie en communauté, c'est pour que la communauté puisse se reconstruire. Ma troisième question, c'est un étonnement. Vous allez en charge contre Kagame. Bon, comme président, il y a des comptes à rendre devant la communauté, mais vous oubliez le président soudanais qui a été condamné. Et c'est un oubli stratégique ou c'est un oubli qui peut arriver comme tout le monde. Par contre, je m'insurge contre cette idée simplificatrice pour ce qui concerne le Rwanda. C'est comme si le Rwanda, tout le problème du Rwanda était le problème des Hutus, des Tutsis, comme s'il n'y avait pas de dimension politique. Par exemple, quand vous dites que les Tutsis ont envahi le Rwanda, c'est comme si les Tutsis vivaient à l'extérieur, et comme si, dans l'opposition contre le général Habyarimana, il n'y avait pas de Hutus. Egatawazi, Nzamwambao, Egaptisi, et tous ces leaders du Parti social-démocrate qui ne se disaient pas sociologiquement Tutsis, mais qui étaient contre cette politique mise en place avec la colonisation et endossée avec la Première République et la Deuxième République, que les injustices commises contre les Hutus dans les années 30 et 50 vont être reportées sur les Tutsis dans les années 60 et suivantes. Je vous remercie.
Thank you for your intervention. You raised very, very pertinent points. Let me briefly try to respond. Rwanda, like the rest of Africa, is or was a victim of international crimes perpetrated by colonialism, imperialism, and neocolonialism. There's no doubt about that. The problems that Rwanda is confronting today are confronted from 1990 onwards, and even before, were not a creation of the Rwandans themselves. As I said in my paper, you read my paper, that Africa is, as presently constituted, was not the creation of Africans themselves. It was a colonial imposition. In other words, these are crimes that are manifesting today, but the crimes, the elements, the fundamental basis for which the crimes are perpetrated were laid from 1884 or even before by colonial impositions. Africans lived for centuries. They had their tribal wars, they had these problems. But Africans never thought about exterminating or killing each other on a massive scale. That didn't happen. And secondly, the factors that financed, perhaps not directly, by the manipulation of the institutions that they left in place. The economic institutions, the political institutions that were put in place make all these crimes possible. Now, that being the case, coming to the specific case of Rwanda, I have not in any way, and I do not advocate, whether crimes are perpetrated by Hutu against Tutsi or Tutsi against Hutus. A crime is a crime against impunity. What I'm against is the fact that international justice as it came to Rwanda to reconcile Rwanda, have become politicized. The reason being that at the time that the ICT era is closing, tension in the region has increased, has exacerbated. The war in Congo has exacerbated tension, internal tension within Rwanda, within even the elements of the RPF among themselves and others. The tension has exacerbated. The reason being that the ICT era served more as a cover, political cover, to sustain a particular regime in power than to bring reconciliation to Rwanda as it ought to. In other words, Rwanda, ordinary Rwandans, Hutu or Tutsi, have not benefited, have not seen, have not felt the impact of the ICT era on their daily lives or on the, in fact, the impact is negligible. Now, Gacaca you talk about, for me, in my own tribe as a traditional ruler, we have a form of Gacaca. It is to be encouraged. The case in Rwanda, in one of my provincial was that it was politicized. The prosecutor general advised the panel of the Gacaca. The accused appeared. Of course, we had some of the cases that have been referred back to Rwanda. Uwilikindi was held by the Gacaca. We had the proceedings. We read. We saw the interference by the prosecutor general. At the moment that he was arrested and taken to ICTR, and Rwanda wanted him sent back to Rwanda, the prosecutor general wrote a letter setting aside judgments that were given by the Gacaca at first instance and appeal. For a prosecutor to nullify a judgment, a binding judgment given by competent jurisdiction, is politics. And this is the type of political interference in the Gacaca that we condemn. It is not that anybody will condemn Gacaca for the sake of it. Indeed, these alternative sources of bringing peace and reconciliation among Rwanda and other people should be encouraged. But it should be the Gacaca as the Rwandans understood it. Secondly, attempts by the Western world to finance the Gacaca and to send the experts who understood the Gacaca brought certain elements into the practice of Gacaca unknown to Rwandans. And finally, the terms of imprisonment and application of the genocide, some of the crimes that were within the mandate of the ordinary courts and the ICTR, bringing some of these crimes within the Gacaca to have concurrent jurisdiction on some of these crimes, posed a problem. Because we found that people who were convicted in Gacaca were later unprosecuted, either by ICTR or by the ordinary court in Rwanda. This interference mitigated the achievement of the Gacaca. Now, with the question of the crime that might be perpetrated against the Tutsi, rather during the Habyarimana Kagame today, let me say one thing. I slept in the hills of Nyagasambu. I assisted, I took part in the Gacaca. And I can tell you sincerely that the true victims of the conflict in Rwanda, I met them. I personally offered to Karenzi, when I met him in Arusha, when he came from Darfur, he was against the lawyers for defending Bagosara and others. I said, General, if you are ever arrested, I will defend you. Because the role of a lawyer is to defend every person to make sure the rule of law is followed. 3 months after he was arrested, I talked to Martin Gonga, the prosecutor general, who was a friend of mine for a very long time. I talked to Alois Mutambiwa, who was a friend of mine. I said, you were present when I told the general that they should stop politicizing justice. The problem with the justice in Rwanda is politics, it's politicized. The type of justice in which you find Victoire, in which people plead guilty, people who have pleaded guilty, who are co-accused, they are maintained on the charge nevertheless and used as witnesses